Hello, hello to all my change makers and unity for wellness and peace. I am Cheyenne Kramer, and today I am so excited to have a change maker with us that is bound to leave you laughing if you hang around here for just a little while. So, we welcome to the stage today, Mr. Brian Snow. Thank you for being here, Brian.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for having me on, and I truly appreciate it, and I truly appreciate all the change makers we're going to be talking to.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, please tell people a little bit about your background, about you, and what just makes you so awesome.
What makes me so awesome? Where do I begin? I'm from Chicago, South Side of born and raised. My dad and my mom got me into sports, and I became a sportscaster because of this voice.
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
And because I heard that particular voice, that is the late great Jim Durham, longtime voice of the Chicago Bulls, I have a simple philosophy. If Jim Durham could do it, so could I. So I started learning how to do play by play with different voices and listening to them over the years, and I still listen. It's a practice for me now to listen, to warm up, and get into it. And I am happily married to my wife Jody. I have my children. I have my grandchildren, and I recently decided to appoint myself a men's mental health coach. Why I
Mm,
made that decision, I got tired of struggling by myself on how to answer questions that I knew needed to be answered. And I also got tired of being told, take a look in the mirror. So I did. I took a look in the mirror and I asked, how can I help people? How can I bring a change that is sorely necessary? So, in taking the non traditional route, I'm relying on the best teacher I have, experience. That's how I
mm,
got to do some of the play-by-play announcing I have and some of the places that I where I've been, and that's how I'm going to attack this journey using some of the experiences I had. And the biggest one is the fact that I survived stage 4 pancreatic cancer because there was a low percentage, very low percentage of my survival. In fact,
mm-mm.
at the time my wife did the research, there was a less than 5% survival rate
Wow.
of stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Mm,
Couple that with blood clots in both lungs, dual toe amputation, kidney failure, anxiety, depression, type 2 diabetes. The last three things the last three things have been going on for a while, but all the other stuff I mentioned from the blood clots to the cancer, all that happened within 3 years' time. And
wow.
many have considered me and can still consider me a walking miracle. So
Uh,
A, time to prove it, and B, time to pay it forward. And that's
mm,
that's that's me. I love to laugh. I love cartoons. I love making people smile. And I've always had this saying that if I can make one person smile or laugh, I've had a good day. Well, that
mm.
streak is still intact. And I said that a little over 25 years ago.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely. Laughter is not in plentiful enough supply on the planet right now. So thank
Mhm.
you for being a source of hope and the best medicine that's out there, right?
It's the greatest medicine.
Mhm.
It's the greatest medicine.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm curious, was there something specific in your experience that caused you to say, "All right, I've had enough. Now I'm going to figure out how I can make a positive contribution in men's mental health."
Two things happened to me. I lost my dad to prostate cancer in
Mm,
2007.
mm.
8 years later, I lost my sweet little daughter, Donna, and she was
Oh.
2 years old.
Oh.
Those two events crushed me. And then you mix in that I was in a very abusive relationship at the time that I lost my daughter. And there were so many things going on at that point in time because what people in society today don't realize is that men are not naturally at a point of anger. Men get pushed not only to that point, but beyond it. But what happens? when that plunger gets pushed and they explode, they get a finger pointed at them and they get laughed at saying, "See, he's got problems. Why don't you ask him about them?
Mm,
Why don't you talk to him about them?" That's where I know I can make a change because I had to discover that myself. I had to discover
wow.
it on my own and get the right people around me that will listen.
Mm.
A lot of times men have people around them that think they're friends and they don't listen to them when they're going through hell.
Mm. Well, and communication and just being able to have a space where you can feel heard, feel comfortable, and understood. I mean, that is a huge, huge component. And we talked a little bit earlier about the amount of suicide that's going on all across the country and around the world. And it seems, I'm pretty sure if I remember Martin's words, that the statistics are that it's higher with men at this point. I mean, what kind of things do you see as being a huge component of why so many men are just deciding to check out?
They're not listened to, they're not heard, they're not understood, and they're being placed with people that are purposely not wanting to hear them, purposely not wanting to understand them, and purposely not letting them communicate how they feel.
Mm,
Because we're told all the time as men that communication is important. And yet, as we talked earlier before we came on, we are not given the correct tools
mm,
to communicate. I mean, it's one thing when you talk to someone that you're so comfortable with, like your husband, my wife, my family, that you're so comfortable with that you can just say what you need to say and what you want to say, and they do not judge you.
right.
Here's your key. Do you know how often men are judged for every little thing that they do, every little thing that they say?
Mm,
Because they have to keep this thing in society going. They're
mm,
forced to keep this perception in society going. Why are they forced to keep it going? Because if men were to actually speak out and speak their piece and be at peace with what they're feeling and getting it out, you know how powerful that is?
mm.
And today's society don't want that. They
No.
want men to be, I never thought I'd use this word, but I'm going to keep it real. They want men to be slaves to
Mm,
this point in time. This is 2025. They want men to be emotional slaves.
wow.
And in many cases, that emotional slavery turns into physical slavery. And that physical slavery sometimes turns into financial slavery.
Mm,
But it starts with the emotions.
yeah.
What growing up, what were men taught? Don't cry,
Don't cry.
don't show your feelings, and to
Mhm.
borrow an old commercial, never let them see you sweat.
Mhm. True.
All three of
True.
those things are wrong.
Mm. Mm. Well, and I remember a story that my friend Martin told, and I'm curious how you would perceive this because he says that even in the mental health world, a lot of people don't. They try to treat men's and women's mental health in the same way. And
Mm,
Martin was telling a story about a guy who his wife was really upset because his father had recently passed, and she said, and he doesn't talk about it. He's not grieving. He's not willing to, let his emotions out. And the other person said, well, you might not think he's grieving, but is he doing anything different right now from what would be the norm in the past? And she said, yeah, he's spending all this time working on the backyard. It's like he's landscaping it and making it all these different things, and it's like he's putting all this energy into the backyard. And so the first person said, well, do you know if as a young man, if he spent a fair amount of time with his dad in the backyard? And she's like, "Oh yeah, they were always playing catch. They were always doing these things in the backyard." And he said, "He is grieving and you just need to honor how he's doing it." How do
mhm.
you perceive that? Does that make sense in your world?
It makes a ton of sense
Mhm.
because I still grieve my dad every day, and
Mm.
he's been gone since 2007.
Wow. Wow.
There, Jody taught me this. My beautiful wife taught me this. There's not a proper way to grieve.
No.
You can't. There's not a proper way to grieve, and there's not a proper amount of time to grieve. Whoever told you the opposite, don't buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dad played catch with me all the time. Dad
Mhm.
watched cartoons with me all the time.
Uh,
We bonded, especially after I moved home from Minnesota in 2001, and we had a chasm between us. When I moved back home, first thing Dad said to me is, "I'm glad you're safe, and I love you dearly."
mm,
And we talked for a good 2 hours about everything that was going on. Because at the time, people would point at me and say I was out of control. I had a failing marriage at the time. Not many people understood why I was working so much, why and I didn't understand why it was failing. I thought I was doing everything I could, but I was taking myself out of the equation.
mm,
I was doing everything for the marriage, but not many things for myself. When
gotcha.
I had a chance to do something for myself, it would be taken away.
Mm,
This is what a lot of men don't realize. When you have a chance to do something for yourself, no matter what area it's in, and you reach for it, how many times is it suddenly taken away?
mm. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So now you're gonna go forward and do what you can from an experiential place. And I
Mm,
know there's people who have some challenges with that. They think if you don't have all kinds of fancy letters after your name, you don't have any right to be working in that world. But I
yep.
happen to believe that experience is absolutely one of the best teachers that any of us can have. So, I praise you and just say, yeah, I'm with you. If you can work with some folks from that experiential place, can you tell us anything about what that looks like? Where do you hope that goes?
Let's see. Where do I hope that goes? I'm a sports announcer. I've been at it for 30 years. No one gave me a chance in hell to succeed as a sportscaster because I don't have all the fancy degrees, because I don't have all the letters by my name. All I have is the experience. Now, what's the biggest catch 22 when you're going after your dream job? A, you don't have the degree, but you have the experience. B, reverse it.
Mhm.
You don't have the experience, but you don't have the degrees. So you're screwed either way.
Yeah.
Even if you have both, they're going to look for somebody cheaper, and they're going to look for somebody with less knowledge so they can teach them their way instead of you learning your way or
Mm,
finding your way or
mhm.
both.
Absolutely. Well, and my vision for you would be that somewhere in all of this, and you may already be doing this, I don't know, you haven't talked a lot about it to me yet, but taking those pieces of experience and combining them to create your own process for helping in the men's mental wellness world. To me, that's what the creator put us here for. If you believe for a half a second that you were made in the image and likeness of a creator, then you were born to create. And I
Mhm.
just have this strong sense that you've got a very important creation to be bringing into the world. Would that resonate with you?
A long time ago, when I wanted to get into sportscasting and I wanted to be a play by play announcer, I couldn't find the job that I wanted.
Mm,
My dad looked at me and told me something very important that I hold true to this day, and I'm carrying it into my men's mental health healing consulting firm. If you can't find the way to do it, make it.
yes.
Dad
Yes.
told me if you can't find the job you want, create it. I can't. A lot of people, I know a lot of people are going to tell me the patterns that they use. Hell with that. I'm creating my own pattern. It's what I've done all my life.
Yes.
I can't
Yes.
find the sportscasting job I want, I create it. I can't find the sports show I want to join, I create it. Creating it, and now I'm doing the most important thing to show men that it is possible, sustaining it.
Yes.
Sustaining it.
Yes.
I've had Snowman in the morning for 11 years now. I've
Nice.
done sports talk since 1995. I've done play-by-play announcing since 1995. Now comes the sustainability process. And it's a process. How can I explain this? If you have a whiteboard in your office, how many times are you erasing that a day and coming up with different ideas? There you go. When something is solid, then you transfer it from the whiteboard to something I use all the time for my game notes, my notebook.
Yes. Yes.
And by the way, I got 4 of these. I'm no longer permitted to bring any more in the house because my wife has a box of them in the garage, and she told me you can't buy any more notebooks until you use all of those. And I'm not going to mention that the box is as big as this table. No, in
I love
actuality,
it.
the box is as big as a ream of printer paper, but it's got
Oh,
all kinds of notebooks and tablets in it.
okay.
So I'm digging. I'm digging in. I'm digging into that.
I love it.
And here's the other thing. You know what men are taught not to ask for?
Mhm.
Help,
Mm.
assistance.
There's jokes about that out there.
Let me say that again for those of y'all in the cheap seats at the old Chicago Stadium. You know what men are taught not to ask for out loud? And I include the words out loud: help,
Yep.
assistance, comfort.
Yep.
How can a man survive?
Mm.
Somehow they have, until someone like me and a couple of others speak the truth, saying, hey, we've been held back. And
Yeah.
not held back from education, not held back from opportunity. No, not held back from that, but just held back from being a man because we aren't taught not to seek aloud and speak aloud the things that we desperately need, which is
Mhm.
help, man.
Yeah. Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Well, you were kind enough to share with me earlier about a big vision you have for this whole men's mental health arena. Are
Yep.
you willing to share a little here? Because part of
Oh,
my goal of this
yes.
group, this Facebook group, is I want to be connecting people who have similar passion and similar vision, because the more people you can pull together under that umbrella, the farther and faster you'll go.
Let me start with this. I have a book I'm working on. It'll be an audio book and it will be a written book. It's called Diary of a Mad Snowman. Snowman's my nickname. With
Okay.
everything I've been through just in the past 3 years, I can put it into a book. And then everything on top of that is just gravy.
Mhm.
I'm a sports nut. I can't help it. I have a GoFundMe going where my wife and I can get a motorhome and tour and see every stadium that I want to see. Now I've added a tentacle to it. This is an empty seat. I want to fill every one of those seats in all the stadiums that I go to with men and the women who support them that are looking for help, no matter how little or how big it is. I
Mm.
want to fill it up and tell men, look, there's a new way to do things now in the 21st century. The old society, the old standards of society is gone. I heard something in the movie The Addams Family. If it takes a fool to believe that he can change the world, well, then as God is my witness, I am that fool.
I like that.
I am that fool because sometimes sometimes you just, as men, we get to a point and y- The old way is gone. No more. No more, man. I mean, how many men do you know in your life that have come through your life, including the ones that are in your family, where they are just buried under situations that most of them they didn't cause. And they just look up at this mountain of situations and they go, and sometimes the men just think, and they think about checking out. I
Mm,
was there. I was
mhm,
21 years old and I was thinking about checking out because I didn't think anyone was listening to me. I
mhm,
didn't realize how long I had that going on. And when then one day, later on in my life, in fact, I turned 50. I turned 50, still thinking about everything that's happened from then to now. And sometimes I think,
What in the all types of blue hell?
was that? And then other times I think,
Oh, hell no.
I went through all of that and I survived. Well, one day, one happy day, you, let me see how I can. Sometimes with the stat that you gave about suicide among men,
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
period.
yes.
And men's brains are just spinning around, wondering where can we land.
Mhm.
You get to, and I've said this all the time, and I still say it. You get to a point where you've had enough. And we made the comparison before we came on air today that it's like a plunger.
Mhm.
How long does that plunger go before you reach the end and it explodes? How long? Sometimes a man's patience can be as long as a football field or as short as a fuse. And what's the factor that everyone else looks at? The short fuse.
Yeah, true. Mm, Well, sir, you're certainly giving everybody a lot to think about today, and I love your big vision. I see those stadium seats getting filled and being able to create the, as you said earlier, reciprocal support between men and women that needs to be happening. It absolutely does. And there's a reason the good Lord made us both, and
Yes.
we're supposed to be partners in making things happen together. So I am grateful for your work and the visions that you're holding and moving forward with. How in the world can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about any of the amazing things the Snowman is doing?
They can reach out to me at snowmanmultimedia@gmail.com. And like I said, I got a GoFundMe going. It's called Snowman Stadium Tour.
Wow.
Um, I have a second one called Snowman's Road to Recovery because within all the health problems that have gone on in the last 6 months, I've also lost my vehicle and it's disabled. And I have not been able to produce any funds for the family to help them out. And when I see the exhaustion on my wife's face, that just motivates me even more. And going back to a point that I said earlier, men are not taught to ask for help. I'm going to blow up that mold. Call me a beggar, call me a con artist, call me whatever the hell you want. Until you have walked a mile in my shoes and gone what I've been through just since 2021 alone, shut up. If you're not going to help me, get out of the way. If you're
Yes.
not going to help my family, get out of the way. If you're not going to help my friends who are supporting me in this journey and allow me to support them, beat it.
I hear you, sir. I do. I do. Well, we definitely are great to know how to get a hold of you. I will also invite you when these videos are uploaded that you can put any contact information you wish in the comments under the videos. And as we wrap up this amazing time today, do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave people with in your voice or somebody else's?
Sometimes when you're going through life, you think,
What?
and you also think,
What the hell is going on?
piece of advice my wife gave me is to breathe. Take time out, take a couple deep breaths, breathe. Just breathe. Do I follow that advice all the time? No. Am I learning to? Yes. If you can learn it, you can do it. I leave you with the words of the late, great Nipsey Russell. Put a thing off till tomorrow and you live your life in vain. Do it today, and if you like it, tomorrow you can do it again.
Oh, I like that. Just do it.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Brian. It's been a pleasure. And thank you to all my change makers that are watching and listening to all these amazing interviews. Make sure if you resonate with any of the things that this gentleman is about, we want people getting connected. We want you working together because the more people who can build the energy around some of these causes that we represent in this group, the bigger, the better, and the faster we can create change on planet Earth. Because here's
Absolutely.
my final word: stop waiting for everybody else to do something to create the change. You all are the miracle we're looking for. Have an awesome day, everybody, and we'll see you in the next interview. Bye bye.